For my fifth and last observation, I got to observe a prenatal appointment. This was technically a new patient. This patient was reestablishing care with this provider who she had previously been to for her last pregnancy. The patient was a 26-year-old female who was 13 weeks pregnant and had came in for a pelvic exam and ultrasound. The patient brought her husband, who was also in his 20s. Some of the terminology used while I was in the room was ultrasound, placenta, skeleton view, umbilical cord, and prenatal. This patient had previously been pregnant with another child and was now pregnant with her second baby. The patient had to get a pelvic exam, which I was not in the room for. The patient was not comfortable with me being in the room for this. So I waited out in the hallway until that was finished and I was able to go in and observe the ultrasound portion of this appointment. One of the paralinguistic demands I noticed when observing this ultrasound was that the doctor tended to whisper, say things to herself in regards to viewing the ultrasound and her trying to find the baby. She'd be like, oh, well, okay, so I need to go over here and do this and click this. So just kind of those comments was a paralinguistic demand that I noticed. The mother and the father were both very engaged in the ultrasound. They were fascinated by everything that was being shown to them. The one interesting thing that happened was that the provider was able to notice that the baby had the hiccups. The parents were very fascinated by this and thought that was something interesting. The patient noticed that the kidney was being shown on the screen. The mother had previously had some experience with ultrasounds with her last child, so she was able to read some of these things and learn more about them. Another demand was that the patient was lying down on the exam table for the entire appointment, making it, again, difficult to figure out what is the best positioning when interpreting. The exam went well. The patient was right on track at 13 weeks. The doctor wanted to get some labs as well as a follow-up visit in the next 4 weeks. There weren't any real questions asked here by the patient. She seemed to know what was going on and felt comfortable with what the provider had told her. While this appointment was, I guess, the less complicated than some of the other observations that I got to be involved in, some of the biggest demands here would be some of the terminology used, the position of the patient, as well as the added equipment in the room, and the provider whispering and having those conversations with herself when doing the ultrasound itself. So just some interpersonal thoughts that I had going through this was I've never done an ultrasound before. I have not had a child myself. I've never been pregnant, so this was kind of a new experience. It was also a very exciting experience because you got to witness these parents see their child for one of the first times on the ultrasound machine. Just a control I brought to this assignment was the respect for the patient and their privacy. The patient was willing to have an observer for the ultrasound, but did not want to have me there for the pelvic exam. And I completely respected that. I completely understand. Honestly, I probably would do the same. So that was one of the controls that I brought to the assignment. That would be my fifth observation here.